This is Connecticut's governor, Ned Lamont. And he recently came forward to say he wants the Black churches in Connecticut to lead on getting COVID-19 vaccinations. And that didn't go over too well. Ladies and gentlemen, they are determined to try to get those vaccines to Black folks first, and we are determined to push back. So once again, they make these accusations about we get it disproportionately without showing you a single number. Your word ain't no good. Okay, let's get that straight. Your word is no good. All right, so this is the Hartford Courant, September 13th, 2020. States Black leaders and pastors react with dismay to suggestion by Connecticut governor that Black churches should help lead support for COVID-19 vaccine. Shortly after, Governor Ned Lamont said he needed the state's Black churches to support a COVID-19 vaccine when it becomes available. State Senator Douglas McCrory posed a question on his Facebook page. Governor Lamont just mentioned he was going to work with the Black churches to encourage the use of a vaccine for COVID-19. What do you think about that? McCrory asked. Within minutes, McCrory, a Democrat from Hartford, was deluged with responses blasting Lamont and the notion of asking Black churches to take the lead on vaccinations. I don't think I want to be a guinea pig, one comment read. Don't do it. They are looking for people to be test subjects. And who better than Black people to take this poison, another stated. Connecticut and other state race develop a COVID-19 vaccine distrust any government intervention into their physical well-being, stemming largely from the Tuskegee syphilis study. Actually, it's not just that. It's really your overall health system that is racist. It is a fact that white people in healthcare get better service from their healthcare providers than Black people do. Those studies have been coming out forever now. Black people have gone to the emergency room, even with COVID, said they felt sick and they were turned away from testing. So we don't have to go all the way back to the Tuskegee experiment. We can look at the recent things that have happened now. In the news, I never saw white people get turned away from getting a COVID test, but we saw plenty of Black people. So no, we don't have to dig all the way back to 1972 when Tuskegee experiment ended. Y'all act like we don't have nothing else to go on. Get real. Other historical examples remain a powerful force in the Black community. In his remarks about vaccination and people of color last week, Lamont cited a recent study that showed African Americans and Hispanics were more likely to get tested for COVID-19 than whites, but less willing to be vaccinated. A recent Siena College Research Institute Data Haven survey of Connecticut, adults show that 38% of Black respondents said they would get vaccinated against COVID-19 compared with 67% of whites. I've got to do a better job in education, Lamont said. I've got to do better with the churches. I've got to do everything I can to give people confidence that we would never be asking you to be first to get tested, then try a vaccine until we're absolutely certain it's safe. That's something we are going to have to work with every day. Well, why not go to all churches? How come you didn't go to the Catholic Church? How come you didn't go to the Hispanic and Asian churches? No, I see plenty wrong with that. McCrory said it was unusual for Lamont to single out Black churches. It takes years for a vaccine to become, you know, even approved. It takes years. And we all know this one is being rushed, he said. Why encourage the Black community to take part in something that most people would probably be afraid of taking themselves? Understanding the historic relationship between the medical industry and the Black community. Reggie Hatchett, 42, a community activist and basketball coach who lives in North End of Hartford, responded that African Americans are the target market, with the emphasis on target. It is not the first time somebody has said, yeah, we think the African American community has been affected by COVID the most. So they should be the first ones to have the vaccine, Hatchett said. That's not necessarily good news to most of us. It's going to have to be tweaked and adjusted. And there's probably going to be some powerful side effects on the first group of people to try it. A lot of us are aware, uh, and are very skeptical. And he's right. Hatchett was not surprised that only a third of Black survey respondents said they'd get vaccinated. A lot of us understand that this country has not been great to African Americans, he said. Even though we've had breakthroughs and a lot of advancement, it always seemed to come back to racism being the underlying thing that doesn't go away. Sophia Taylor Edwards, 52, of Hartford, said communities of color are often too approached as clinical laboratories, places to harvest information that will ultimately benefit white people only. Don't bring the vaccine here. Don't bring that to the Black churches, said Taylor Edwards. You bring that to the suburb churches up there and you approach them with that. We don't want your poison. You bring your poison someplace else. I guess that means no. Across the country, the coronavirus pandemic has disproportionately affected African Americans and Latino residents, and they still have not showed us any raw numbers. Not going to believe you until we see raw numbers. Who are more likely to live in densely populated areas and suffer from pre existing conditions. Yeah, because your American diet sucks. And to have diminished access to health care than white residents. Last week, British Swedish pharmaceutical AstraZeneca had recruited 30,000 people in the US for a COVID 19 vaccine study, announced the research was being temporarily put on hold due to a potentially unexpected illness, potentially a side effect of the vaccine shot. Mm-mm-mm. There could be a considerable backlash and a considerable pushback to the idea of pressure from government for a vaccine that, in my mind, however, will slice it, has been rushed to market, he said. Okay, yeah. Um, Setter said a long history of testing, experiments, and abuse of people of color have made members of his congregation highly suspicious of any push, particularly by the government, for vaccinations. You could help but hear those echoes coming from Washington that say we're going to have a vaccine maybe before the election. How is it being used in a political context? Setter said it is very hard to be able to hear and have confidence, quite frankly, in what might be offered. Archbishop Leroy Bailey Jr., a senior pastor at the First Cathedral in Bloomfield, emphasized the need for greater COVID-19 testing and advocated for improved diet, nutrition, and overall well-being programs. Far too long, Bailey said, the Black community have been guinea pigs and the government has lied to our people. The main issue is this: why doesn't Lamont work with white churches first? That's what I'm saying. I mean, why are you just coming to Black church? Go to white churches too. Or Spanish churches, he said. Why pull out the Black churches? Why should we trust this? Why not have a conversation with the African American pastors to see our take on it? Mm-mm-mm. The mistrust we're observing is not a figment of a person's imagination or linked to some unjustified sense of wariness on the part of Black people, Powell said. If you understand that, then your approach to resolve the issue takes on a different kind of feeling. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's face it, we have been through hell and back with this government. It has never done right by us. Why should we believe it's going to do right by us with this vaccine? Now, let me just make myself clear. You can't make us be first. Okay, you can only get that if we're all cooperating. That vaccine is still voluntary, it's not mandatory. And even if it was mandatory, you would still have a problem with me. I'm not going along with that crap. So, y'all better go to a plan B, because don't look like plan A is going to work out too well for you. As far as all these Black people stepping up, hold your breath. Won't happen. But y'all, please tell me what you think. Please leave your comment and subscribe. Don't forget to hit on the notification bell, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace, family.